and welcome to the Tuesday episode of DB2. David Brem here with Daniel Butler as always. Butler, most of week 11 in the books. We got one game going on currently, and luckily, I think it's going to be a pretty short episode, not a whole lot of injuries, so that's always good news.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully the week was good for you. It was kind of mixed on my end. It was okay. It did well, but went against some powerhouses this week. So hopefully you had better luck. This is the home stretch. I was looking at I was like, oh, it's okay. We still have some time. It was one league where I'm like fighting for a playoff life. I'm like, oh, I still got time, and I realized there's only 3 more weeks, and then it's
Yeah.
playoffs. So this is looks like I still think we'll sneak in, but it's gonna be close, and it's the home stretch. So we got to make sure we got some. Obviously we're making sure we're not taking zeros, but also there is, because of
Yeah.
injuries. There may be some players that you can pick up. There's not a whole lot of injuries, thankfully. There's only
Yeah.
really a couple big names, which is nice because I feel like we've just been getting hit brutally
Oh,
with
it's
injuries lately.
decimated.
So it's good that's the case. So hopefully you had a good week. And we'll lead off with, if we're on the same thing, New England against Atlanta. That game was last Thursday.
It
New
was.
England just destroyed the Falcons. I think the Falcons, yeah, they didn't even score in that game. It was completely just a beat down. Maybe they did at the end. I think it was a shutout though. No injuries to report. I did see that Calvin Ridley, I think, is eligible to come back now, but the head coach said no
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
If you have Kevin Ridley, hopefully you have a spot for him available just as a IR sort of spot. But nothing, and yeah, we very well may not see him this year.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance we don't see him this year. I think though, if we're gonna see him, I think that's gonna be a pretty last minute announcement. Um, unless they're like, hey, we want to see like a week of practice just to make sure you're still in shape. But I'm I'm leaning towards let him get his head together, do what he needs to do, and see him next year.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that when he does come back, if he does come back this year, he could come back like on a Monday. That might make sense. It's like come back and then you'll know he's practicing, and obviously he suits up, and you may very well have to start him. Like you feel like if he's this Falcons offense needs a lot of weapons, but they don't have a whole lot of help in there. But yeah, we're talking. This is a much bigger issue. For now,
Yeah.
we're just gonna let it go, and if anything changes, we'll obviously be monitoring that, but.
Yeah.
No changes to Calvin Ridley, and I don't think there was really any other injuries of note from that game.
Nope. Next up, we got Dolphins Jets. Only one injury to really talk about in this game. Michael Carter, ankle issue. Nothing official out there that I can read as of recording, but seems pretty confident it's definitely not going to be in there this week. Maybe just a 1 week thing, maybe not. But opens up some options on the Jets. Kind of the wisdom out there is obviously it's Ty Johnson or Tevin Coleman. And personally, I don't know how you feel about this personally. I like Ty Johnson's upside way more. Like if I'm going to start one, he's more involved in the passing game. Just kind of everything about Ty Johnson makes me, if I have to go Jets, if I'm in need of a running back, or like I lost Carter, or I just need a running back and Ty Johnson's available, I actually really like his upside.
Yeah, it's weird because in the past, I don't even know, 5 6 weeks. At the beginning, Michael Carter was kind of a guy who was on your bench. You're like, he's a starting running back, but I don't really feel good about it. I don't know, do I start it, whatever. And then he just kind of just happened, and he was actually really good,
Oh yeah,
and you liked playing him. And then this happens. So there's a good chance Ty Johnson is available. He was always kind of interesting, sort of like a PPR guy because he was in
passing game,
involved.
yeah,
And then lately, Michael Carter kind of took away everything. It was kind of the Michael Carter show, and he was all the value there. And then in this game, it was split with him and with Coleman and Ty Johnson. So it's like, is it Ty Johnson? Is it Coleman? Snap count I think was identical. So yeah, I agree though. Based on if you look at just last game, you might be tempted to say it's Coleman, or you're not sure. But over the course of the whole year, I think Ty Johnson is the guy that would be most likely to step up and be the guy because he's been there the whole year and has had value as well at certain times. So, yeah, I'm
yeah.
going to say Ty Johnson. I think he's a pretty interesting ad, honestly. I think
Oh yeah,
you're obviously not loving it if you're in that spot where you're playing Ty Johnson, but I don't. I think Ty Johnson has the potential of putting up 20, 25 points just because of his involvement in the pass game. And Flacco, though he wasn't great, I don't know who will be the starter in this upcoming week, but though Flacco wasn't great, he is fine. He was fine, So
Yeah.
it was good enough to have value. Obviously, Elijah Moore was the recipient. We'll talk about that tomorrow, but there was good enough to have value, I think, at the running back or in wide receivers position. So he's fine.
Yep, exactly. All right. Next up, Saints Eagles. New Orleans tight end, Troutman went down. He's not fantasy relevant. Jordan Howard went down the third quarter. The reports as of right now are out next week. Not really sure past then how long that's gonna take. Miles Sanders is back this week. Went right back to what we thought. He was the guy. There was no kind of, but Jordan Howard. I mean, he before he went out, 10 carries for 63 yards. He was involved, um, and I think now that Sanders is back, you're probably not starting either one anyways. But if you are in a pinch or you're in a deeper league, at least for a week or so, Boston Scott's gonna have a little bit of value in this offense, probably.
Yeah, I mean, Howard was kind of interesting because he wasn't really out on the field that much, but when he was getting the ball. So
Yeah.
it was basically run for sort of. They already kind of made up their mind, I guess, that he was coming in as being the bruiser back there. So yeah, I think Boston Scott is yeah deeper league for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think beyond that really. With
No.
Miles Sanders getting the bulk of the work here, and this is a very run heavy, but that's Miles Sanders, that's Jalen Hurts gets a bunch of it as well, and then that third guy, whoever that is, and the passing game, especially with Devontae Smith, really, I mean, this wasn't his best game, and Goddard, you got a couple weapons that are starting to step up, especially Devontae Smith. That's also part of the offense, so I don't know how much value there is in Boston Scott, but I do think red zone. He definitely could get. I mean, Jalen Hurts had 3 rushing touchdowns in this game. No doubt that some of those could go to Boston Scott. So,
Yeah, could happen.
yeah, you're not in the best spot if you're starting him, but depending on the size of your league, it's not the worst play. He'll be on the field, whatever, 30% of the time, maybe 30, 40, 30, maybe close to 40%. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Packers Vikings. No like anybody out, but and I did watch this post game interview with Rodgers, dealing with that toe injury still. It seems like all like the medical reports are that's just going to kind of be a lingering thing all season. So just something to kind of know about. They don't seem to think it's something that's going to get serious enough to take him out, but he could kind of be a little bit hobbled at least for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean that's with rushing, Rodgers does give a little bit of
It's not
that,
really what he does.
but
Yeah.
it's not a huge I mean that's not. I mean it does help. I mean he's mobile and but he's not overly or he's not a run first quarterback. He doesn't. I mean he'll give you a little bit here and there. He'll pick up a first down or something, but he's kind of like a he's not quite like even like Mahomes does it a lot more than Rodgers. Rodgers more likely to sit in the pocket or even maybe step up a little bit, but then instead of running throw it. So overall, I don't think it's that big a deal. Outside of I've never played the quarterback position with a toe injury. I've actually never played the quarterback position, so I'm told it's probably difficult. And but I don't know if toes are really important. So if you're playing the quarterback,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. Uh, Jags 49ers. Jamal Agnew went down with a hip injury. He is done for the season. So if you are deeper leagues or in a pinch in a standard league and you were rocking Agnew, we talked about how we kind of like the Jaguars schedule at the end of the season. He's done for the season. So I don't think it makes much of a difference. I don't think there's like a new name to plug him in because I think if you were plugging him in, you were already kind of in a pinch. Just go somewhere else, and I'm sorry that you're sitting there.
Yeah, Trevor
If you're in a
Lawrence,
12 team
this
league,
is it's not working. Urban Meyer could very well be fired after 1 year. I think. I don't know. This just whole thing has not worked. This offense has not been good. You'd like to see Trevor Lawrence be a lot better. I was high on him. I will admit. I thought he would be a lot better, especially when I mean they played the 49ers wasn't an easy game, but he hasn't really looked great. So Agnew's had splashes, but I still the thing is like I still like Marvin Jones as a talent. It just the offense is when you throw for 150 yards, it's just there's just not enough value outside anywhere. James Robinson is the guy.
yeah,
That's what
yep,
you want in this offense, and maybe Dan Arnold, who didn't do anything in this game, but that would be maybe him.
I mean, yeah, we've talked about that group of tight ends so much. He's one of those guys. Lions, Browns, no injuries to speak about. One thing just to mention, Nick Chubb back to Nick Chubb things. Um, it's looking like unless that second running back, we're gonna talk about it more tomorrow, but unless that um, second running back is, and now I'm blanking again.
Kareem Hunt, he might be back. I
Kareem
think.
Hunt.
I think
Yeah,
they were saying he could be
but
back.
well, I think what we learned and we've kind of learned with Chubb is unless that second running back is Hunt, there's no need to start him. So we were wondering if Dennis Johnson might have some value. It's looking more and more like when it's not Hunt, Chubb is just going to take everything.
Yep, and once Hunt comes in, we'll see if they give him back. I'm a little bit hesitant with him, but when Hunt was in there, it was like a dead 50-50. So they were
I
both
think it
like
could
top
shift a
12
little,
guys.
but
I do think Chubb probably gets the bulk of the work, maybe 60-40, but by maybe a week of that, and then it could go back to 50-50 when Hunt's just getting back out there. Well, so if you could do worse than starting Kareem Hunt even when he comes back, but obviously he's not as high as he was pre-injury because there's just too much unknown. There's maybe very well be other guys like before he was a top 15 guy, top 10 guy, I think, like with points per game, but you probably ranked him somewhere in the top 15, top 20. He's probably a little bit lower now just because he's been out for a while, so we don't know.
Ravens Bears. In a shocking turn of events, nothing for the Ravens, so that's a nice change of pace from every other week we've done injury reports. But Justin Fields went down with a rib injury. Could be out for a couple weeks. They're kind of up in the air right now. Honestly, fantasy-wise, I don't know how relevant this is. I don't think Andy Dalton is that much of a downgrade for any of the passing options that you don't really want to be playing anyway. So, like, if you're already in a spot where you had to play like an Allen Robinson or something like that, you're probably still. I
Darnell
don't think
Mooney
this news.
probably more likely, yeah.
But
But
yeah,
Dalton, I think it was already announced for Thanksgiving,
yeah,
so that's the guy. You're probably not starting
no.
Andy Dalton.
There are a few people who like Andy Dalton as much as I do, and you're not going to.
Yeah, what Dalton, his numbers could fool you a little bit, but it was like a screen pass that really, that anybody I could have thrown.
You say that a lot, and I just never believe it.
As a screen pass that was a straightforward throw and went for a lot of that. I think, and that might have been that 60. It might have been a 60-yarder there for Mooney, so that's a big portion of it. So just, I think that then the touchdown, a good one at the end. There, like all of Dalton's value, I guess, came on 2 big plays. So
Yeah.
I don't really like Dalton as a
No.
quarterback, fantasy quarterback, or in a real world quarterback. But Mooney is starting.
Hurtful.
Mooney had. It's not so much that, it's just that I think his education was so poor in college that he just can't overcome that. The red rifle. Darnell Mooney, we'll talk about this tomorrow, but had 16 targets. So maybe that's Dalton's guy. So I guess Mooney could be the recipient of more value just because it seems like, I mean, there was only 34 pass attempts this entire game between Dalton and Fields, and 16 of them went Mooney's way. He only caught 5 of them, but
yeah, that answered my question. So, but the Justin Field, that it doesn't downgrade any of the wide receivers for you, does it at all? Like that doesn't change.
No, probably no. Fields has not worked really yet. Yeah, I don't think you had any value really in him anyway. But so it's hard to downgrade pretty much 0. 0 is a small number, and I don't think you can go much lower. I mean, you can. I mean, but fantasy wise, you can't really go much lower.
Fair. Washington football team, Carolina Panthers. We got nothing. That's what we like to see.
Cam Newton back, good to see. But we'll talk about that more tomorrow. But that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Colts Bills. No disrespect, but it was an offensive lineman, not relevant to what we do.
I mean, it's just. I mean, obviously, Jonathan Taylor. We'll talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, he was really affected.
He was, just something like the Colts have one of the best offensive lines in all of football. Yeah. Quentin Nelson is one of the best offensive linemen in all of football. So, losing that, you never know. I always wonder, like, what the matchups look like. Like maybe, obviously Buffalo did not know how to stop it. So I'm sure that Quentin Nelson injury is not helpful to Jonathan Taylor. No. But I don't
It's not
think
changing
he's
anything.
probably not going to get 5 touchdowns every week as well. If so, I apologize. I didn't call it. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see him
Yeah.
going for 80 plus touchdowns. So my bad. But yeah, he obviously had
If
a
he
great day.
does, congratulations to whoever has him. You just won a fantasy football championship. I'm very proud of you. It's week 11,
If
and
you
you just won.
somehow didn't win your fantasy football line, I'd like to see that lineup that somehow didn't win with that sort of. Which I'd like to see one
I,
that won without him this week. Just anyone. I'm sure there are because the rest of your team could have did nothing. But when your guy gives you 50 points alone, probably have a good chance of winning.
I feel bad for. I saw somebody online that played against him and Eckler, and I'm like, well, there's nothing you can do. Like, you're nothing you can do today. Um, Texans Titans. AJ Brown got a little banged up, but it looks like shouldn't affect any kind of playing time or anything like that. So
Yeah, we'll talk more about this tomorrow. My Houston Texans. I called it. I'm just saying. Did I not call it?
you kind of called it.
I said NFL is weird. This feels like a game. Could be an upset. I would take the money line if it was money line. Obviously, I don't feel like the Texans are going to win, but this game's going to be close. And so I guess that is kind of pretty much exactly what I said. I didn't say they were going to win. I said this feels like the game. The NFL is every week. There's been the big upset. Is that? I mean, it seems like there's always some weird thing that happens. Jacksonville knocking off Buffalo and plenty of others. Denver destroying Dallas and a few weeks ago, and yeah, you have Houston beating Tennessee. I don't think that's actually good because I'd like to have a good draft pick, but cool for them for fighting. Terod looked good too. He played well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you'll make sure we touch on that tomorrow. I'm just gonna fire through. There's one game left that actually has anything. Bengals, Raiders, Cards, Seahawks, Pittsburgh, and the Chargers. Nothing to speak about in those games. So I figured I'd just fire through those real quick.
JJ
Injury
Watt
wise,
just put out a tweet. This has nothing to do with fantasy, but JJ Watt, Texan fan. I like JJ Watt, even if he's no longer on the Texans. Put a tweet out just saying maybe. That's all he said. I know this doesn't mean fantasy wise anything, but I think JJ. I know he gets banged up a lot, but he made that crazy comeback for the Texans on that playoff run where then they got that huge lead against Kansas City and they get it blown out, whatever. But he made that comeback. JJ's saying, maybe not season ending. I'm assuming that's why he said maybe. I don't know why else.
I'm sure it is.
Maybe not season ending. Does that mean anything on a fantasy show? I don't know. Who knows what we'll be talking about in the off season? Maybe we will be talking about JJ Watt. I'm just saying, JJ Watt. That's good to see. He's this crazy specimen where somehow on these injuries that are supposed to keep you out for whatever 6 months or whatever, he comes back in 3. It's crazy. So who knows? That doesn't mean anything, but I thought I would say it.
Yeah, I figured I'd just let you. You seem to be on a roll. I don't. I stop you when it's like hurtful to the show, but when who cares? All right. So the one team that did have some issues, Kansas City Cowboys play the Chiefs, but the Cowboys the only one to talk about. Two very big names. Ezekiel
Really,
Elliott.
3. We kind of talked about the one
Well, yeah,
before, though.
yeah. So Ezekiel Elliott had an ankle sprain. They haven't officially ruled him out, but they play Thursday, and it kind of seems like it's trending towards not playing at least this week. So depending on how bad the sprain is, I mean that could be a couple weeks, but it just seems like that turnaround's probably going to be too quick for an ankle.
Yeah, and if you have a Tony Pollard, if you happen to have him,
yeah.
like he's immediately starting against the Raiders. So you saw what Joe Mixon just did to the Raiders. So Tony Pollard has always been kind of like it's obviously a desperation a lot of times to play because he looks good like when he does it, but Zeke is just an all-purpose back. He doesn't see too much of the field. Yeah, I mean Pollard obviously is super interesting and probably for a lot of teams would be playing. I mean, he would be a start. So if he's on your bench,
think yeah. If Zeke's not playing, absolutely.
So
I mean, there could be a situation where you just have other guys who are much better, but
yeah,
most
I mean, you could
weeks he's gonna
definitely
start.
have, but yeah, good chance he is would be the starter. And then yeah, both. I'll just mention Amari Cooper first.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper has already been ruled out, so he's out on Thursday, and so they're down him. And then CeeDee Lamb with the concussion on that interception play that he hit his head there. Probably that's what caused concussion. But yeah, he
Thanks, Doc.
I mean, we're not doctors, but I do have a couple degrees, so I do kind of.
And none of them have anything to do with the human body.
But yeah, this is kind of. I mean, obviously, if you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Amari Cooper, you gotta look elsewhere. But
Yeah.
I mean, they gotta throw it
Yeah,
to
and that thing with
somebody.
Lamb is like we always say like concussions are up in the air. Not when they play on Thursday. It's really not.
You
He just
can't.
doesn't have
It's
time.
really difficult to get through the pro. It's like it's just a protocol. You got to go through it and all that, but
Yeah.
it takes time. It's not like you got to make sure the NFL obviously takes this stuff super serious, because well,
They used to
because they
not take it at
care
all
so much
seriously.
about. I would say because they care so much about the athletes, but I think it's more about lawsuits, whatever the reason
Yeah, it
may
has
be.
nothing to do with the PR disaster at all.
They take this stuff very seriously. Whatever whatever the reasoning is, they do take it serious. So they're going to make sure they go through the whole 5-step protocol. And if he's not able to get through it, then he won't be playing, and he probably won't be. So yeah, then you're looking at Michael Gallup, Cedric
Yeah.
Wilson, whoever else. I mean,
I think Gallup becomes a pretty strong play Thursday night. And Wilson's a guy who, I mean, with both them out, Wilson could crack the top 30, 35.
yeah, it's so tough because it's not like obviously the Cowboys came off of a really bad performance against a defense like the Chiefs that isn't known to be that great. And they put up 9 points, no touchdowns. Dak only threw for 200 yards, had a QBR of 10. A 10, that's not good.
Okay.
So
I was confused. I wasn't sure.
that goes from a scale of 0 to 150 is supposed to be average, 10 much below average.
So
But
10 less than 50. Okay.
but looking at this past game, Michael Gallup had 10 targets. So if you know you're going to get that, and I would think that's probably going to happen. Dalton Schultz had 8
Absolutely.
targets. You like him a lot more with these guys down. You're
Mhm.
probably still playing him anyway if you haven't. But Cedric Wilson ended up having 7 targets. So CeeDee Lamb only had 4. He went down. Obviously, Malik Turner probably would not be. He would be the third option. So he
You'd
wouldn't
have to
be
be
playing.
pretty deep.
So like, yeah, I mean, I want to say like it's really hard to trust Michael Gallup or Cedric Wilson or any of these guys, but I still think this is kind of an anomaly. I think the Dallas offense is really good. It's been really, really good. I think Dak is a really good quarterback. I think he can find receivers, and Michael Gallup I think is a talented guy. It's just that the guys in front of him are ultra talented, like
Yeah.
some of the best receivers in all football. So it's hard to get the ball when those are the guys. Michael Gallup I still think is a really great number 3 receiver. So I think he can still. I think he's as good at as good a shot at with he's going to get 12 targets probably in this game. Why can't he go for 8 for 80 and maybe he gets in the end zone? So I think he could definitely have a really solid game.
Yeah. So
Cedric
I
Wilson
think,
definitely is a lot riskier though. I think those
yeah, I think you'd have to be in a deeper league or like maybe in like
because
a big lineup.
yeah, it's really it's definitely tough to trust anything when we haven't really. I mean, Cedric Wilson had 7 targets in the game, went 4 for 36. Granted, I know CeeDee Lamb was out there for a little bit of this game, but yeah, it's that I feel like that number 1 guy Gallup, he's been great with Dak in the past. Now, granted, that was with Cooper and Lamb, but he's been great. I think he could still he could be really good. I don't know if Wilson will maybe have a good game or so. Malik Turner I think had a really good game a few weeks ago. Obviously, can't really trust that. So really Tony Pollard, Dalton Schultz, assuming Zeke doesn't go. Tony Pollard, Dalton Schultz, Michael Gallup, all pretty good plays. Obviously,
Yeah.
obviously, in probably that order too. Pollard is definitely the best play, and
Yeah.
then
Oh, for sure.
I think Cedric Wilson. Yeah, I think he could be like top 35, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to look at the rankings. But
Yeah, I think that's it. I throw numbers out there where that feels right. I haven't looked at
yeah, then
like
you
where
start
everybody's
looking at them,
ranking.
and a lot of times it's lower than what you think. So I don't want to be too crazy, but I think he'll probably get 8 to 10 targets. So
Yeah.
I mean, in an offense that maybe not as good with these definitely not as good with those guys missing, but I still think good enough. Where 8 targets from one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, I think, is value, pretty decent value.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so like I said, pretty quick one today. Always like that on the Tuesday episodes because that means not a whole lot of people getting hurt. And let's be honest, football is just more fun when our fantasy players play because then we don't have to put guys we don't trust in, and that's no fun. So hopefully that cleared up some stuff. Maybe gave you some names to check out on the waiver wire. We usually like to throw in some guys that aren't injury related. We're getting to that point of the season where we kind of know what everybody's got. unless an injury happens. So um, if you made it this far, thank you. Means a lot. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. We'll be back tomorrow going through every game going into week 12. And then a couple more episodes later in the week. Not really sure what those are going to be, but a couple episodes later in the week, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check all that out. It will be yeah, hopefully 5 episodes this week, assuming I don't mess up anything. Should be 5 episodes. All right, have a good one. Wonderful day. Good luck in this week matchup. Big matchups because you got to win. Now we're in must-win territory. If there's such a thing, you probably should have won the previous weeks too. Those also would have been
It
good.
helps.
But this week's probably need to win. So go get them. All right, see ya.
See ya.